Hello everybody and welcome to the Astraordinary Coffee Chats. I'm Davide Censo.
And I'm Matteo Barbarossa.
And we're the founders of Astra Coffee. And we're here to make your coffee extraordinary. So today we're going to cover the topic of specialty coffee. So let's get right into it. Matteo, what is specialty coffee and why is it better than regular?
Okay, so specialty coffee is a kind of coffee that is free of defects and got more than 80 points in a professional evaluation. And he will ask me what these things means.
What is a professional evaluation even?
Okay, cool. When it comes to green coffee, okay, we need to start to think about there are a lot of differences between different green coffees. You say coffee from Colombia, a coffee from Brazil, a coffee from Nicaragua, or a coffee from India. All these kind of coffees are different, of course, because they come from different countries and different plantation. But
I assume the soil, the weather.
Yeah, the soil, the weather, the amount of sunny days that the coffee plants get. The minerals that are contained into the soils, the amount of rainy days that the coffee trees gets leads to completely different kinds of coffee. But what really differentiates a specialty coffee to a regular coffee, it's the amount of defects contained into a single quantity of coffee. Okay, so let's take, for example, an X amount of coffee. If into that X amount of coffee there are a certain number of defects, we cannot consider that a specialty coffee. If it's free of defects, we can consider that a specialty coffee. Okay.
So what are defects in coffee and how do we spot them?
So defects in coffee are a lot. Okay, I will tell you the most common one: white beans. That's usually are empty beans. Sometimes when you buy a coffee blend and you open the coffee, you see the color of the coffee is there, okay, brown, but you spot that beans that is not even almost brown. It's kind of whitish, okay? So this is a white beans, it's a floating beans, it's an empty beans, and this is a defect. Also in a coffee samples, there could be present stones, from small stones to bigger stones. Could be present small pieces of wood, from the small one to the big one. But so there could be present some rotten beans, okay, or some sour beans, some mature beans,
some not ripe, basically.
Yeah, some not ripe beans. So all these beans together, if this kind of defected beans are not taken out, will lead to a really poor cup, to a poorer cup when compared to the same kind of coffee without all this kind of defect.
So those really affect the final flavor and the final result in your cup of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Some beans could have mold on that, okay?
Oh, straight up mold.
Yeah, straight up mold. So try to imagine that some beans could have straight up mold in that. Okay, you roast that, and when you grind that, you try to evaluate the coffee. Believe me, you're gonna feel that, okay? And you don't want to feel that, believe me, because I felt it so much this time when I tried to evaluate coffee, and it's a journey that you don't want to take. But yeah, so all these kind of defects leads to a poorer cup. Without that, we have very clean, super great cup of coffees. Of course, also the beans must be at that kind of level, okay? Because you maybe can take a very small engine. You can, if you're a mechanical engineer, you can put your hands in that, but you cannot take it out a Ferrari engine from a very small engine. So you first need to add a very big, powerful engine, and then if you put your hands on that, you can create a boom space rocket engine.
You can make the best out of it.
Yeah, you can make the best out of it. This is the main differentiation between just regular coffee and specialty coffee. Regular coffee, when it comes to professional evaluation, reach maybe 70 points, 72, 67, something like that. Specialty coffee are usually arrives to 82, 83, 85 points. Evaluating specialty coffee when the grades that they get goes above 85, 86, it's just a matter of perception. Yes, it's the perception of the evaluation team, of the panel team that will evaluate the coffee, but it will lead to something that for sure gonna have a great coffee.
So we're really looking for coffee, when we look for a specialty, we're looking for coffee that is 80 plus caffeine score.
Totally.
Can you tell us more about how the evaluation is performed and what are the criteria that are being looked for and how can a coffee score more than another, basically, in a few words?
First of all, cleanliness.
The cleanliness of the cup.
Yes. Everything is pointed out on that, okay? So if a cup is very sweet, also it's not bitter, very sweet, because bitterness and sweetness are not two opposite things. A cup of coffee could be bitter and sweet in the same time, and bitter, sweet, and could be sour in the same time. The sourness could be a very good sourness, a sweet sourness, or a very unpleasant one, okay? So you evaluate all these kind of things, and there are the SCA scoreboard, and in professional coffee profile, so you profile the coffee, you taste it, you spit it out. Otherwise, at the end of the day,
jittery.
Yes, all the time. So you have to spit it out and write so the scores that every single section gets you the coffee, okay? So this is how they evaluate world. You evaluate more the cleanliness of the cup, the type of bitterness that it have, the type of sourness, if it's sweet, if it's not sweet, tactile sensation like astringency. If it is very astringency, maybe it's not really great cup of coffee. Usually a great cup of coffee is pretty smooth in your mouth, something like that. It works in this way.
Makes sense. Okay. Another characteristic that we usually look when we see coffee on the shelves is single origin versus blends. So what's the difference there between single origin and blend, and what's the difference within specialty, single origin, and specialty blends?
In the specialty coffee worlds, usually it tends to be specialty coffee. It's a single origin coffee. Yeah, this is correct, but you can create also a great blend of coffee with specialty coffee, mix it together, and create and design a new profile for your cup. So when somebody asks me something like that, I will usually reply that the difference between single origins and the blend is a single origin is a great violin concert. So you sit in your theater and you enjoy these great artists that play violin. But when it comes to blend, you enjoy an orchestra. You don't enjoy just a violin. So this is the main difference. Violin concert could be great, but the blend is the orchestra. So it depends what you want to hear that night.
Makes sense. So a single origin is not necessarily better than a blend.
Absolutely not.
It's just a matter of preference.
Yes, it's just a matter of preference. Totally.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Matteo, for being with us and talking about specialty coffee. Hope this was helpful, and we'll see you again in the next episode of your Astraordinary Coffee Chats. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and if you have any questions, post them down here.
And let us know your experience while preparing your coffee with the tips and tricks that we suggested to you.
Also, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button so you can stay in touch.